In 2024, people bet about $9 billion on a single website, guessing who would win elections, who would win games, where the price of Bitcoin would land. And the website that took all of those bets charged them, in trading fees, exactly $0. Nothing. So here is a number that should not make sense. The man who built that website, working alone out of a New York apartment, is now worth around $1 billion. A free service, a billionaire founder, and a $2 billion check coming from the same people who own the New York Stock Exchange. If nobody paid a fee, where did all of that money come from? Because it came from somewhere. It came from you. You just never saw the moment you handed it over. To put that $9 billion in perspective, just a year earlier, in 2023, the same site handled about $73 million. That is a jump of more than 100-fold in 12 months, and almost all of it rode in on one event, an American election that this website, of all things, called more accurately than most of the professional pollsters did. And once you see how that worked, you are going to feel a little differently about the word free. Start with what you are actually buying, because it is not a casino chip. On Polymarket, every question is a pair of shares, yes and no. A single share pays out exactly $1 if it turns out right, and exactly $0 if it turns out wrong. So if the crowd thinks an event is 60% likely, the yes share costs you about 60 cents. That price is not set by a bookmaker in a back room. It is just the entire crowd's live guess at the odds, moving second by second as people buy and sell. Which means you are never really betting against the house. You are buying a contract from another regular person who looked at the same question and disagreed with you. And here is the first detail that makes this whole thing strange. You are not paying with dollars from your bank. You are paying with a crypto dollar called USDC, riding on a blockchain called Polygon, because the entire system was deliberately built to sit outside the American banking world, where the normal rules and the normal referees do not reach. If you like watching exactly where your money goes the second you spend it, that is this whole channel. Subscribe and we take one thing apart every single week, all the way to the bottom. So you fund an account, you buy your 60-cent share, and the machine quietly starts to move. The only question that matters is whose hands it passes through on the way, and which of those hands keeps a piece of it. So follow the dollar. You buy your share, and the trade settles on Polygon almost instantly. For a transaction cost so small, it rounds to nothing. A fraction of a single cent in what crypto calls gas. No bank, no card processor, no 3% swipe fee. Then your money drops into a pool with everyone else's, because this is peer-to-peer. The people who bet wrong are the ones who fund the people who bet right. The house is not sitting in the middle of the pot taking a rake. But somebody still has to decide who was actually correct, and that job is handed to something called the UMA Oracle. Anyone in the world can propose the answer. Then a 2-hour clock starts, and anyone can challenge it. If nobody disputes the answer, it locks in. If somebody does dispute it, it escalates to a vote of token holders who are paid to land on the truth. Once it resolves, the winning shares are paid $1 each, and the losing shares pay $0, automatically, by code. No customer service, no appeal. During the 2024 election alone, $3.3 billion flowed through this exact pipe on a single question. And at no point in that entire pipe did the website charge you a classic visible fee, which, if you think about it for 1 second, should make you suspicious rather than grateful. Because no company on earth becomes a billion-dollar business by running the busiest casino in the world purely out of kindness. So here is the trick, and it is genuinely a good one. The fee was never the business. You were. You have heard the old line, if the service is free, then you are the product. On Polymarket, that is not a metaphor. It is literally the model, and you can put a price on it. Start with the data. Every bet you place is a real money vote on what is actually going to happen, and it turns out that millions of people risking their own cash produces the single most accurate forecasting data on the planet. Sharper than polls, sharper than pundits. Polymarket takes that live data and sells it to hedge funds, newsrooms, and traders for an estimated $50 million a year. You generated the most valuable asset in the building for free by gambling. Think about who buys that. A hedge fund wants to know the real odds of a rate cut before the rest of the market does, and a real money betting crowd will tell it faster than any analyst. They are not paying to play, they are paying to read what you wrote with your wallet. Then there is the volume itself. That $9 billion of bets is the living proof of demand that makes the whole company valuable. 6 weeks after relaunching to American users, it was already running at roughly $1 billion a year in revenue. And underneath all of it, the float and the spread quietly skim value the entire time your money is sitting inside the system. The founder, Shane Copeland, started this completely alone at 22 years old in an apartment with a laptop. By 27, by one ranking, he was the youngest self-made billionaire in the world. This is exactly what The Cut does. We follow the dollar past the part everyone is watching. Subscribe so you do not miss the next one. He did not get there by charging you a fee. He got there by owning the machine that you, for free, volunteered to fill. Now hold it up against the version that plays by the rules. Kalshi does almost exactly the same thing. It lets people bet on real-world events. But Kalshi is registered with American regulators. It runs on ordinary dollars in the ordinary banking system, and it charges an honest, visible trading fee of a little over 1%. You can see precisely what you are paying every time, and if something goes wrong, there is an agency whose actual job is to pick up the phone. That visible 1% is not the expensive option. It is the receipt. Polymarket's entire pitch was the mirror image of that. No visible fee, no regulator, no permission asked. And that pitch carried a cost you simply could not see anywhere on the screen. Back in 2022, the American regulator for this kind of market, the CFTC, fined Polymarket $1.4 million and ordered it to lock American users out entirely. The company kept growing anyway, quietly, in the place it had been told to leave. And then, the morning after the 2024 election it had just called correctly, while everyone was praising how accurate it had been, the FBI showed up at Shane Copeland's apartment and walked back out with his phone. So the real choice sitting underneath all of this turns out to be very simple. You can pay a clear 1% to a referee who is at least obligated to protect you, or you can pay nothing visible to a machine that answers to no one and find out, much later and on someone else's terms, what zero was actually costing you the whole time. And here is where the whole thing lands. In late 2025, the company that owns the New York Stock Exchange agreed to put up to $2 billion into Polymarket, valuing the site at around $8 billion. Read that one more time. The most establishment institution in all of American finance just bought a giant stake in the unlicensed crypto betting platform that the FBI had raided barely a year before. The entire operation had been built on only about $70 million from investors like Peter Thiel and Ethereum's co-founder Vitalik Buterin, and it was your $9 billion in bets that turned that $70 million into $8 billion in value. That is the multiplier. Your volume was the product they sold. And to make the deal legal, Polymarket did not wait years for a license. In 2025, it simply bought a small company that already held one and walked back into America through the front door it had been pushed out of. So here is the kicker. Every single time you placed a free prediction, you were not the customer being served a service. You were the raw material being mined. Your guess, your cash, your volume, scraped up and packaged and sold to people who were never going to risk a single cent of their own. You paid no fee. You simply handed over the one thing the house actually wanted the entire time. Everyone takes a cut. On Polymarket, the cut was you. Now you know where your prediction really went.